It's the McShay Show presented by FanDuel. It's our time. It's officially NFL draft season, and you can get in on all the action with FanDuel. FanDuel has lots of ways to bet on the draft, like pick position, team to draft a player, exact order, top 5 and 10 picks, and so much more. When you win, you get paid instantly. FanDuel always has exclusive offers. The app is safe, secure, and easy to use, so download FanDuel Sportsbook app today and make every moment more during the NFL Draft. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available. And listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Huge show today. NFL draft boards are getting set this week. General managers are starting to trade information like currency. So we'll share what we can share from some interesting conversations had this weekend. Plus,
I'll tell you what the plus is, McShay. It's time to finally do the deep dive into the most important position in all of football, the offensive line. I cannot wait to talk about these graceful gladiators. It's only 10 days to the draft. McShay, you good?
I'm good.
Drop that beat, Tucker.
I'm clearly in for it today. I love it. Muench has been waiting patiently, stalking his prey, letting me rant and go an hour and a half, an hour and 50 minutes when I should only go 50 to an hour. But today's his day. But of course, before we get to all of that offensive line stuff that he's so anxiously awaited for, I've got some stuff to share, okay? First of all, thank you for joining. Thanks for being a part of this. We couldn't be more thrilled about what's going on. We've got 3 shows this week, Muench, so stay tuned. Follow us on Instagram, on X. I'm at McShay13 on X and TMcShay13 on Instagram. Muench, what are your handles?
At You Good Muench. It's Muench.
All right, so that's where you can find us this week. We'll keep you posted with all the scheduling stuff, but I can't express to you the excitement we have on Sunday. My good friend Muench and I jump on the bird all the way out to the West Coast. We're going to be out in LA. They've opened up the studios there. Is it Hollywood, Beverly Hills, whatever it is? The studios are too beautiful and wonderful for us, but we're going to depart from here and we're going to absolutely take over those studios on all throughout the week. Then we've got a live show streaming for the first night of the draft, okay? An hour before, we're going to tell you all of the information, all the news, all the stuff going on. I'll have the mock draft come out the day before on Wednesday. We'll have a show that comes out first thing Thursday morning covering that mock draft. Then the night of the draft, day 1 of the draft, next Thursday, we will be there 1 hour before to tell you all the information we're hearing. What's the latest scuttlebutt, if you will. And then the second night, we'll be right back there in the studios. First round of that night, which will be round 2 of the draft, we'll be there for a good portion. Then we'll have a wrap-up show after the Friday night. We'll talk about all 32 teams, what they've accomplished, what's still to accomplish on Saturday. Then Saturday, we'll be watching the NFL draft from Ryan Russillo's house. He called me the other day, Muench, I'm getting nervous. He's trying to back out. It ain't happening, Ryan. It ain't happening, okay? I'm going to get him to run a 40-yard dash somehow, some way.
We'll see about that. I want to see the 40.
We're going to steal his food. We're going to drink his drinks. We're going to watch the third and final day of the draft. And then the 7th round, when everyone's talking about guards from Kennesaw State and everywhere else, and it's the same voices you've had to hear for 3 straight days, come back with us. We're going to be there. We're excited to share it. We're going to have a lot of fun. Muench, myself, Russillo. We're going to break down all 32 teams. We're going to start the review show there. What's happened on Saturday? What are the biggest picks? Where's some of these quarterbacks like Will Howard and Riley Leonard and Dylan Gabriel go? Where's some of the running backs that are left over and all the other positions? But most importantly, we're going to start talking about the teams, what they've done to help themselves, okay? So that's the schedule. That's how it lines up. There's been a lot of stuff going on. And I say that, and I open this whole thing by saying draft boards are getting set this week. had a lot of conversations over the weekend. This past weekend's probably the second most conversations I have with people in the NFL. Next weekend, before we fly out, it's going to be complicated on Sunday, man. Easter Sunday. It's going to be complicated because it's Easter and we're flying out to Los Angeles, but I'm still going to have a lot of texts and a lot of calls. Friday and Saturday, I've already got 9 calls lined up. 9. We're going to have all the information, as much as you can have, as much as teams are kind of pedaling around right now. But some information came out. First thing that jumped out to me was just about everyone I talked to this weekend, Muench, wanted to talk about, hey, Will Johnson's working out. Michigan cornerback. Top 15 player on a lot of teams' boards. Had the lower body injuries he's dealt with throughout his career. Finally was able to work out. And he did so this morning, on Monday morning, okay? I was told leading up he's going to do everything but the 40-yard dash. Here's the other little nugget I was told from multiple people in the league. He's been running 40s in training and working out, but was running in the high 4.5s. One team said they had gotten reports low 4.6s. Is that important? I mean, it's not ideal. And I was told by multiple teams he's going to do everything but the 40-yard dash for obvious reasons. He doesn't want, if he's running a 4.58, we saw AZ Thomas, Florida State cornerback. I've talked to multiple teams that thought he was going to go late first. Then he ran a 4.58 at his pro day. Now, the difference is Will Johnson is at his best when he's studying him on tape, eyes forward, playing the ball in front of him, giving cushion, eyes forward, reading. Think about the pick sixes, the one against Marvin Harrison Jr., the Fresno State one this year. His best plays seem to be when he's backed off in cushion, surveying. He's an absolute sniper with his eyes on the quarterback, right? But when he turns and runs, and we went through all the plays when we did the deep dive in the cornerback position, when he turns and runs back to the quarterback, lacking the recovery speed, gets a little bit lost. Pass interferences, beat deep, those sorts of things. So then you start to look at the mock draft, right? And you start to look at the teams that need corner. You start to look at the teams that play zone heavily, right? Those are the teams where he fits. The workouts, by all accounts, here's what I have for you. 37-inch vertical jump. Would have been tied for 6 at the combine. That's good. Lower body explosiveness. See it on tape. Matches up. 4.33 short shuttle. Surprised he ran that. Only 4 cornerbacks at the combine this year ran a short shuttle. Wasn't required. Wasn't running a 40. Could have just done position drills, jumps. He did. Ran a 4.33. That's the 13th percentile of what cornerbacks have run, over time. Slower than the 4 corners that actually did run the short shuttle at the combine. Smooth in drills is the report I got. Showed he's a smooth mover. He's not like the most sudden and explosive and fast, but he's a smooth, good in his pedal, good in his turns. He didn't blow people away, was the report I got, but looked the part for the type of cornerback that he is. San Francisco would be the first team where I think he'd even be in the conversation, picking at 11. They run his own scheme, kind of man zone. Charvarius Ward just left. I gave him an NFL comp similar to Charvarius Ward, somewhere in that neighborhood. I think with the offensive line and defensive line needs, he's not going to go at 11 overall. After that, though, is where I think he'll kind of come and play somewhere in that 12 to, let's say, 17, 19 range. What are your thoughts? Anything?
Yeah, just why did he test at all? If he knew, he had to have some sense that these numbers were going to be where they were. Why not just say, I'm not fully back from the injury yet? I think players do this all the time. You don't have to run. He doesn't have to do those. And my concern might be is, and I don't know if you've gotten any sense of this, did the medical have any kind of impact on these numbers? Is he's not all the way back? Is he trying to do something? Is he trying to improve his stock and do something that he really shouldn't be doing at this point? I'm not as concerned as you when I watch the tape about his speed. I don't think it's that big of an issue, but when I hear that number, I start to get more concerned about it. So I just don't know why you would put those numbers out there if you knew that that's the range they were going to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You know who he is.
Who's leaking that he's running 4.5s and 4.6s? I mean, I
don't know, but if NFL teams are getting
right?
it, and guys that are going to be in the room for the draft night,
you've got a bad team if that's getting out, man.
These are not area scouts with an axe to grind or something. This is coming from the highest level.
No, I trust it, but for his team to let that number get out there is, to me, what's happening here. doesn't add up for me.
Had he come out and run, I would have said, well, teams are getting the wrong information. But they specifically told me. I was certain based off the information he wasn't running to 40 today, and that's exactly what happened. So
yeah, I'm not questioning your information. It's interesting
no, I
that
agree
it got out there. Yeah.
I agree with you. Have a tighter inner circle. I agree. A lot of interesting conversations, man. I think that, oh my gosh, so much good stuff. I mean, we could do a whole show on it. We'll save it. Nothing is earth shattering except this. There is thought, and this is not coming from the Giants themselves. This is coming from other teams that have sources that are working the phones now. Apparently, everyone agrees. Cam Ward's going number 1 to Tennessee. Cleveland's staying at 2, and they're picking Travis Hunter. Apparently, in the last several days, and it's not, no one's saying it's going to happen, but people are telling me don't close the book on Shedeur to the Giants at 3.
Here we go. The roller coaster of the Shedeur Sanders show.
I know. No, and this isn't going to be about Shedeur. It's either Shedeur or it's Abdul Carter, and most people think it's going to be Abdul Carter. It's interesting, though, that I think there's like a landscape thing going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Shedeur's, we said, he's not going 6 to Vegas. He's not going 7 to the Jets. He's not going 9 to the Saints. Okay. More information on Shedeur is, I am told, and trust your sources or figure it's lying season and it's making its rounds just because. But I tend to trust where I'm getting this information. Mike Tomlin really likes Shedeur. If he's there at 21, Shedeur could very well be a Pittsburgh Steeler. And if Aaron Rodgers is there, I don't think one would have to do with the others. Two different elements to this. Aaron Rodgers is to win games now. Drafting Shedeur Sanders, if he's there at 21, would be to finally get the solution at the most important position for the long term. Okay. Excuse me. So, there's that. So it's either, this is what people are talking about, and they're asking me questions here. What are you hearing? We're hearing this. There seems to be a common thought within league circles that it's either 3 to the Giants, which a lot of people thought was a dead concept, but it's creeping back in, is what I'm told, or it's 21 to the Steelers. The in-between would be a team trading up ahead of Pittsburgh, obviously. And we discussed that a lot in the mock draft show that we recently did. And we appreciate all the support. The numbers are outstanding for that mock draft show. I mean, almost doubled anything we've done before. Like, it's draft season. It's time, and the right information is being funneled through this show and through the McShay report, which you can just Google, subscribe to. If you care at all about this stuff, like, I hate to say it's a must read, but like, if you have interest in this stuff, we're going to give you the information you need, and a lot of fun stuff too. So I don't know. It's fascinating. The other part that's fascinating to me is, do you know who had his 4th and final visit with the team? Kind of last minute. Abdul Carter with the New England Patriots. Here we are on 10 days out from the draft, April 14th, 2025. 10 days out from the draft, all of a sudden, Abdul Carter the agent doesn't let Abdul Carter travel to Foxborough, Massachusetts, if he thinks there's a chance. So the agent's getting the same information that I'm getting, that NFL teams are getting, that Shedeur could be in play at 3.
You don't make the flight. You don't make the flight unless you think you might have to, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that part's fast. So if you're a Patriots fan and you're like, yeah, I like Will Campbell a lot, offensive tackle, and I'm told it's either Abdul if he falls to 4, or it's Will Campbell. That's another bit of information. Again, not all information is accurate, but it's coming from pretty good sources that just wouldn't say I have a good feeling or sense or a good source on this. And
it adds up, right? What they're saying adds up.
Totally. It's what we've been saying for a while, more so on the Carter could get to 4 if Shedeur is the guy. And then Will Campbell, we've kind of zeroed in on in the last couple weeks.
Agree.
So that part's fascinating. Let's stick with. No, let's go down the line a little bit. Here's some listen, you get off these calls. I've got I've got like sheets of notes.
Your head's spinning. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way, not in a bad way.
And here's my mock draft that if you can see, like, I'm already, X's and checks all over, names. And my point is just trying to walk people through as much of the information as I can share. There's some stuff I absolutely cannot share. We'll do our best to give you enough information so nothing surprises you when we come to the first night of the draft. I promise you that. If you follow this show and you're watching the 3 shows this week, all 5 days next week, and the hour leading up to the draft, and then the live stream of the draft, you will at least get a sense of the why for everything. Okay, I may not be able to divulge a couple details and things that I've sworn to secrecy that put it in the vault, but you'll have an understanding of what the mindset is, the thinking process that's going on in these draft rooms. So it's either Campbell or Carter at 4. Carter, if available, is the pick. If not, it's Campbell. Then you get to 5. Here's an interesting conversation I had with someone, and I know either Jalen Walker's I would love to see
some momentum. You got Jalen Walker getting some buzz.
I'm not saying it's momentum one way or the other, but I was told this. It's interesting. When you talk to people after you release a mock draft, they never read the mock draft. No, I didn't read the mock draft. then why are you?
McShay says.
Then what? Well, yeah, I'm not saying that it's like must read and they're passing it around on warm printer paper. But I'm saying it's interesting when I get someone who purposely reaches out and is like, hey, I saw what you did at 5. Just something you might want to throw in your back pocket. James Gladstone, the new general manager of the Jaguars. I talked about Jared Verse, which he did. And it absolutely could be Jalen Walker.
Yep.
His Rams background, sorry. Critical, he was a trusted confidant with Les Snead with the Rams, the general manager of the Rams, Les Snead, and then Gladstone got the job because of his outstanding work that he did in that Rams personnel department. He's now the general manager of the Jaguars. The reminder I got was Mason Graham, defensive tackle. Obviously, defensive tackle is a huge need for Jacksonville, so it makes sense. And we had Graham there for a long time. 32-inch arms. That's the biggest knock on Graham. If you were to start, like, what's the number one limitation, weakness, knock, whatever it is, it would be 32-inch arms. It was kindly pointed out to me, Braden Fisk, the impact that he had with that organization, 31-inch arms. The defensive tackle, former Richmond Spider, who went to Wake Forest for a year, Kobe Turner. Great dividends paid on that draft pick. 32-inch arms. So 2 of their interior defensive linemen with the Rams that Gladstone had a big part in drafting. 32 and 31-inch arms, Turner and Fisk, respectively. So
stick that in your back pocket, yeah.
Stick it right there in your back pocket. No one has anything else but Ginty at 6, but everyone's like, if it's so obvious, something tells me it's not going to be. But
right.
But everything lines up, and everyone's like, what else are you hearing? Jets. Comes down to Membou and Warren. That's what we've said for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The more I think about what Warren, the impact, they passed on Brock Bowers, different regime from last year, obviously. With a mobile quarterback, there's been some buzz about. I don't think the Jets are going to take a quarterback at 7. I think we'll get to the quarterback stuff, the second tier, if you will, second wave of quarterbacks. We'll get to that in a little bit, and the Jets will be included. Couldn't you see Tyler Warren there, though?
Oh yeah, I mean that's why he's the other name, right?
Security guard, or security blanket.
Security blanket, yeah.
He can be a guard too. Yeah, just something to think about. I would, after conversations, I might lean Warren at 7 over Membou.
Interesting.
We'll get to the Membou and some other offensive line stuff a little bit later.
Which one would you take?
Warren.
I go Membou.
But I
Got to
wouldn't
build
have
that
a
offensive line. Yeah.
Edge is about what you think. It's interesting. It's like the odd picks are the ones that are wreaking havoc and some interesting stuff. Like 3, if it's Shedeur, that's fascinating. But like the 4 pick, we know it's Carter if he's there, but it's Campbell if he's not. The 6 pick, yeah, it's probably Genty. The 8th pick, yeah, it's going to be an edge. Jalen Walker seems to be in the club. I'll say this. One name that when you start kind of going through the rankings and talking about where do you have them and who, and just when you're having conversations, you can always pick up on where they're like, well, yeah, this guy, this, and this for the edge guys, this, and this for receiver. And you kind of get a sense of who you're talking to, how their board lays out. Not on purpose. They're not like, here, this is how we have our edges, right? But you kind of get us. Michael Williams' name comes up a lot earlier in conversations than you would think. I see that big smile on your face.
Not more than I would think.
You being maybe the general public. So if Jalen Walker's gone, it wouldn't shock me if Carolina took his running mate there, Michael Williams. Number 9, another odd number, another fascinating spot. Everyone agrees. Here's the thing. Everyone agrees with my premise that I've pitched to everyone I talk to, that Dart makes more sense than Shedeur with Kellen Moore, right? Yep, got it. Yep, agree. But no one thought that they were taking a quarterback at 9.
No one
I've talked to thought that they actually were going to take a quarterback at 9 until, and no one knows yet, but this is the question, probably the question, one of the top 3 questions I got from other people. Hey, what are you hearing? Does this Derek Carr shoulder thing change what they're going to do? And I'm like, change? What do you mean change? Like, well, they weren't taking a quarterback at 9. All my intel was they were not taking a quarterback at 9. Now I don't know. The other thing I was told 2 different times in conversations, you know Mickey, right? Mickey Loomis, general manager. When Mickey's got his eyes set on a guy, hell or high water, he's going to go up and get him. They're picking at 40. And this brings me to my second wave of quarterbacks, okay? Conversation that I'm having is it's almost like Ward's a lock at 1. Shedeur's kind of his own entity. It's his own market. It's either 3 to the Giants, 21 to Pittsburgh, or someone's going to trade up ahead of Pittsburgh to get him, okay? So when you talk to people in the league, the phraseology, if you will, is that second tier of quarterbacks. And the same 3 names in that second tier of quarterbacks. Now, it doesn't mean the Saints don't like Dart over Shedeur, and some teams have it the other way. But like when people in the league are talking about it, it's like, yeah, Ward's going 1, Shedeur's here in that range. But the second tier of quarterbacks is creating a lot of mileage. Frequent flyer mileage. That's what everyone's saying. A lot of frequent flyer mileage this time of year. Not used to like, seriously.
Right, yeah.
A lot of mileage. Getting a lot of miles. That's what I kept hearing. A lot of miles. For Dart, Milroe, and Shuck. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. Jalen Milroe. Dynamic, explosive, 4.37 40 athlete who throws a beautiful deep ball, but it could not be any further away in terms of processing and short to intermediate accuracy and touch. And Tyler Shuck, 25 years old, 7 years college ball, 3 season-ending injuries, but by all accounts, like the maturity, ready to play mentally, maturity-wise. Here's an interesting nugget, too, in the conversations I had about Shuck. Absolutely love the kid. One person said, we always have our group leaders that are down on the field and walking guys from place to place. They were fascinated by Shuck because he was the only one, all the quarterbacks kind of cutting it up together, staying in their little group. They love the fact that no quarterback hung out and talked to and conversed with the wide receiver group more than Shuck. Know where your bread's buttered. And just like the mature, I don't need to hang out with these young quarterbacks. Like I want to go find out who the wide receivers are, Everyone loves Shuck for the same reasons we love Shuck. Everyone sees the physical tools. The question I got, and the reason why people think it's more likely the second round than the first round, and because of the Milroe wild card angle, could wind up being the fifth quarterback taken instead of the fourth, where I think we both have him ranked. It's tough when you got a 20. Forget the injuries; they're all broken bones. It doesn't seem like something that's going to be a concern long term. Yes, the 7 years, the age, it hardened him. It gave him maturity. He knows himself. He understands who he is. He's coming in the league. He's ready to contribute. He's ready to walk into an NFL quarterback room and actually be a contributing part of that room and not be this little pup that has to be brought along. That's what everyone's like. He'll walk in right away, get along with the guys, maturity level that most of these other guys kind of have to be brought along, and But I got this comment, and it actually rings true. It's not that he's 25, Todd. It's that he's 25 and he's only had one full season as a starter. So where am I going to get my man some reps? And how long you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
I don't care about the age. I get the 1 year starting though. That's a concern for any quarterback. So I get that. For me, the age, these guys are going to play. I think he's going to play 10 years in the league easily. He could play longer than that if everything goes well, if everything goes as expected. I'm not super concerned about the age, but the 1 year starting thing is a real thing. We've talked about it a lot on the show. It's a thing. You have to play ball, man. And by all accounts, we talked to him. He processes well. He picked up that offense really well. He's played in a bunch of different schemes. Smart kid. All of those things are true. It's still one of those things in the back of your mind that sticks with you of hasn't played as much ball as I had hoped he would have played in college.
And with all these guys at every position, really, you're looking for separators that could be, again, not falling, but why? My goodness, he's bigger. He's got as strong an arm as Cam Ward maybe, and stronger than Shedeur, and a little stronger than Dart. And he might be faster on a straight line than all these guys. And so why is he not being mentioned? And I think that's a big thing for NFL teams. It's not that he can't. It's not that he doesn't have the traits. We love his maturity. We love where he is. But I'm betting my job maybe, or choosing him over a really good starting player at another position, over like an edge rusher or a defensive tackle or an offensive tackle, like a starter like Conor or Simmons. I'm going to draft that guy over those guys. And I don't have this job forever. I'm like this. You never know. Next year could be my last. So those are the things I think so often and this is the stuff that I like sharing with the audience, right? It's really hard to evaluate players. Okay. And then it becomes even trickier. But after 20 something years, like the evaluating players, while it's never easy and you start fresh every year and there's 800 guys that you whittle down to 400, but they're still doing 400 evaluations in a class and all that stuff. But you get to a point where you trust your eyes, you trust what you're seeing. You know what a zone corner looks like versus a man-to-man corner. You know what a 3 technique looks like versus a 5 technique or versus a nose. Like we got all that stuff. We've had that for many, many years. Okay. But then you got to add in like the sources. What are my sources telling me with the character stuff, the durability stuff? I got so much stuff and I hate getting it this time of the year. It's the worst, man. You fall in love with a player and you hear some background stuff and you're like, my fuck,
damn it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so then the sources come in, like, and you got to make sure, because you don't want to have egg on your face sitting on the draft set the first night or the second night on ABC with Herb Street, and you don't want to have a guy rated 35th and he's still sitting on the board when you're on the 97th pick and it's been on Todd's top available. So like that part's important too. But then there's this third element to this process, and it's like the conversations that you have when they put some perspective on it. Like, yeah, I get it. I see that talent. And Shuck's a perfect example. I see that talent. I see the maturity. Awesome interview with him. See him hanging out with the wide receivers. He's different than the rest of the guys. He's ready. But the 1 year, and then you start talking about like, I could get Luther Burden's a pain. He's got some stuff, but like that could be a difference-making guy that could help me right away. And so it's the perspective is like the last part of this. And I've got a lot of good perspective on a bunch of different players, and we can get into some of them today. And we got 2 more shows this week. But I do want to transition real quickly before I hand the baton over to you, and you like rightfully deserve. This is your day. But I want to get to one last thing, one more quarterback thing in before I hand it over to my offensive lineman. There's a lot of conversation going on, and people are trying to figure out, where do I got to go to get him? Where, and can I sit comfortably at 33 if I'm Cleveland? Who's going to be there at quarterback? And I talked about the frequent flyer miles. And it's because teams are trying to figure out last minute, apples to apples, interviewing, putting him on the board. We got to figure out, is he worth it? Because again, this perspective thing keeps coming up in the conversations I'm having. Okay. And it's like, it sounds nice. I'll give it away a 3 and next year's 2, or I'll give away a 3 and a 5 this year and a 4 next year. But like, we're talking about, give me a position. 3rd round, we're talking about Harold Fannin, the tight end. 3rd round, we're talking about Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech, Torrey Horton, Jalen Royals. 3rd round, we're talking about Anthony Belton, offensive tackle. 3rd round, we're talking about Quincy Riley, cornerback, bunch of picks. Jacob Parrish, cornerback. 3rd round, we're talking about,
there's good value there this year, man.
Josiah Stewart, Princely Uman-Mielen. So like, you got put a name with that number.
Right.
That's the message I'm getting from people. Put a name with that number, and then come back to me and tell me, right? But I'm also getting the messaging of, okay, Todd, I want you to understand, if you're one of these teams, and this is why this year of the quarterback situation is so unique, and there's so much mystery and drama to it. Because again, Shedeur could go 3, he could go 21, and he'll go somewhere in between to a team trading up. And then you've got Jackson Dart. If he doesn't go 9 to the New Orleans Saints, where we think he's best suited to go, you got Mickey Loomis. We always talk about like praying birds hanging down, waiting for roadkill. When's that spot I can go down and plunge? Here's what everyone wants to know. Is Cleveland moving up from 33? If the Giants don't take Shedeur and they do what most people think the smart football move is, take a top-tier player with the top-tier pick, and they take Abdul Carter at 3, are the Giants moving up from 34? Wild cards, Vegas sitting at 37. New Orleans is scary. That's the messaging I keep getting. That son of a bitch, Mickey Loomis. No, seriously, like that son of a gun.
Yeah, I hear you.
If he wants one of these guys, he's going to go up and get him. Okay? Jets 42. Kind of a dark horse, not saying they will, but so even if it's Shuck, even if New Orleans trades up for Dart, let's say Shedeur goes at 3, falls at 21. Or a team moves up to go get Shedeur ahead of Pittsburgh. And let's say New Orleans goes from 40 all the way up ahead of Cleveland, ahead of the Giants, ahead of Vegas, and goes and gets a quarterback, right? Now we're down to Milroe and Shuck. You know what I mean? And so if the Giants are like, yeah, like,
who's the first round team that wants Milroe? Have we figured that out yet? Have you figured it out?
No one, as far as I know.
It's wild.
Everyone in the league is scratching their head as hard. I'm glad you brought up Milroe. Everyone's like, I don't know, man. Like, and people were like, well, you've been around the TV stuff. Like, what is this? Do you know anything? So I tell them the background that I've shared with all of our listeners and viewers. We appreciate you watching and listening. YouTube, you can also get this if you're watching on YouTube, on Spotify, on video, podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. But I shared, there isn't a team in the first round that's drafting him. And I've shared with all the people I've talked to in the league this weekend, like the inner workings of, you go to the truck after the first night of the draft, and boy, there's a lot of frustration. And the phone calls, like we have all these production meetings, right? And then you have a production meeting on Friday morning to get ready and make sure all the elements and the tapes are cut and all that stuff. But like the first conversation you're going to have is, well, Will Levis is still there. We talked to his mom or his dad or the agent or to Will. And then like the conversations you have leading up in the production meetings, like 9 meetings. I'm going to beat your head against a wall sometimes. All these meetings, we meet, we Zoom meet, we're going to meet at this hotel lobby. We're in the conference room, the Azalea conference room, like the meetings. But in those meetings, it's always a hot topic of conversation. The league wants to make sure. Okay. So I'm explaining to people in the league, what like the inner workings, that's the league does not want Jalen Milroe sitting up there unless there's something. We're waiting on the official report. Unless there's some kind of like, he's there for the second night of the draft, or he's there for some purpose, that we're honoring him. People in the league are genuinely confused as to why he is accepted an invite to Green Bay, just as confused as we are. But just like us, speculation, they may, if it's not something that we haven't heard reported yet, and that if it's not something that winds up getting reported before the draft, but why, like a special circumstance is there, then the league knows. They feel really good about the fact someone's going to trade up for them. So that's it's funny because it's like TV stuff, but like teams are like, what do you got? What do you got? Okay.
It's the odds too. It's the same kind of a thing.
So
we see these odds and they think a player is going to go there. But go ahead. Sorry.
No. So I want to retrain our brain. If Shedeur doesn't go 3, we're now like them. And if the Saints don't go quarterback at 9, but again, that may have changed, and people in the league are really trying to figure out, is that change Mickey and the organizational's priorities there at 9? But if no quarterback outside of Cam Ward goes in the top 10, which I think if you polled people in the league, they would say is most likely. When does the first domino fall? Is it 15 to Atlanta, where they have the second fewest picks of any team in the draft? Talked to a couple different people this weekend who were like, watch out for Atlanta, but also watch out for Minnesota in 24. Fewest picks of the draft, 4 picks. So that's been the conversation. It's that like, if Ward's the only one in the top 10, where does the first domino fall? Is it one of those teams, Cleveland, Giants, Vegas, New Orleans, Jets? Most people think the most likely chances would be Cleveland, Giants, or New Orleans. Those are the 3 teams that people think are most likely to trade back into the first round, with Vegas and the Jets being kind of outside contenders. And would it be up ahead of Pittsburgh to get Shedeur if he's still there? How far would Mickey go up to get Jackson Dart if that indeed is their guy? Which team is lurking with the Tyler Shuck stuff? And who wants the wild card? It's got to be a team that doesn't need him right now, at least for a year. And will Milroe be a late first round pick by a team moving up to get him? So that's all the conversation at quarterbacks. I want to leave you with this, and then this is your show. Saturday quarterbacks. Everyone believes the only 2 with an outside shot to be day 2 picks, quarterback beyond those 5. Ward, Shedeur, Dart, Milroe, Shuck. Would be Will Howard from Ohio State and Riley Leonard from Notre Dame, interestingly enough.
Yeah, I texted you about it today, yeah.
You and I were texting about that. We can get into all that. We have the rest of the week and all next week to talk about Riley Leonard and all that. I just want to make sure we get this information out there. But again, if you polled everyone, the information I'm getting is they expect all of those guys. Here's the names that you're going to hear on Saturday, is what everyone's talking. The Saturday quarterbacks are Howard, Leonard, Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Syracuse, Dylan Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of interesting stuff on Dylan Gabriel. Really like him, man. Wish he was taller. Miami could use him. Miami, any other team like Miami, like another team like Miami. But who are those teams? That's what everyone kept saying. And then I'm going to throw one last name out at you, and I texted you about this too. I want to make sure that you got him on your draft tracker. Always, you protect me, I protect you. Watch late day 3, Montana State quarterback Tommy Mellott. Apparently it's mispronounced a lot. It's spelled Mellott, Mellott, or something like that. Just under 6 foot, 206, 208, something like that in that range. Really good athlete. They ran a lot of option, zone read option. He was think of like Nebraska almost, not exactly that scheme, but with the quarterback's role in that the old Nebraska, Julian Edelman, Taysom Hill, that type. Obviously different, not like tight end, but like a versatile quarterback. Was it Joshua Cribbs?
Yeah.
There were a couple other guys. We haven't had one in a while.
Yeah.
Thank you. We haven't had one in a while. Bowling Green State University, right?
Yeah, I think so. He was definitely a MAC guy.
I'm pressing my luck. There was another bowl. Okay. Anyway, Tommy Mellott. If you hear that name called, it's going to be as a try to develop him into a Julian Edelman kind of offensive weapon type of role where he could be an emergency quarterback for you. I just thought that was fascinating, and to be quite honest with you, I will now watch tape on him this weekend.
Yeah, right.
I have not done that. Okay. I'm done. I feel like that's enough.
Awesome.
There's a bunch of other stuff I want to get to. The wide receivers, Pierce versus Ezeraku, Tet, Emeka, Golden, all these debates.
Make it
but we
stop.
got more shows this week. This episode is brought to you by Walmart. Life gets busy. We could all use an extra hour or save one. With Walmart Express Delivery, you can do just that. Simply place your order, and in as fast as an hour, it's at your door. Use promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order. No hassle, no stress, just more time for what matters most to you. Visit walmart.com to order now. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum. Subject to availability. Restrictions apply. The McShay Show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL draft is here, and if you want to make every pick a little more exciting, FanDuel's where it's at. The app is simple, secure, and packed with exclusive offers. Plus, when you win, you'll get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. And if you think the draft is just about waiting for some names to get called, think again. With FanDuel, you can bet on pick positions, which team will draft a player, exact orders, top 5, top 10 picks, and a ton more, including some ringer specials. And right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. So before the draft kicks off, download the FanDuel app and get ready to make every moment unforgettable. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C. First online real money wager, only $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Steve Muench, this show is all yours. Take us away. Where do you want to go offensive line?
All right, we're going to go right off your tiers. Your tiers, not my tiers, mind you. We'll talk about that as we go through it. I do agree with you, though. Your first offensive lineman your top offensive lineman on your board is offensive tackle Will Campbell. That is tier 3. I don't know if you want to explain the tiers again really quickly. I think that's correct. There are clearly no tier 1 prospects in this draft. You can maybe make an argument for tier 2. I'm with you. I'm comfortable at tier 3. I think that, immediate contributors quickly develop into starters, quality starters. I think that's what we're looking at here. There are no Joe Alts. The Notre Dame offensive tackle Joe Alt, who went early to the Chargers last year. That guy, we've said it before, we'll say it again, that guy is not in this draft. So we just don't see it. So let's have the Will Campbell discussion. And we'll get the arm length out of the way right at the beginning. 32 and 5/8 at the combine, 33 inches at his pro day. Guys that play with that length. That's not my biggest concern. I think that both sides of the argument would say that's lazy to make the argument that just look at the arm length and this is why he's going to fail. I'll start with the positive. And I say this in my report about him. His length is a concern, but teams could bet on his ability to overcome it with technique, mobility, strength, smarts, and toughness. I obviously have a very high opinion of this player. I think when you watch his pass set, if you're a fan of offensive line play, watch this man pass set. It is an absolute thing of beauty, the way he kicks out. He's got a very high stance, but the way he kicks out and bends when he sets it's something else. It's incredible. He's very balanced as a run blocker for the most part. He's very tough to beat when he wins with his hands and pass protection, and he almost always wins with his hands. But we have to be upfront about some things. If you look at the beginning of the year, I think the South Carolina tape is the best example. I think Ole Miss is a good example. There are other reps throughout the year that he's not clean. He gets beat to the inside a lot. He's top heavy as a run blocker sometimes because that length affects him and affects his ability to get there. The length is an issue on tape. We cannot pretend that it's not because we just love the player and we love the human being and we think he's going to be great. I think he's got a very good chance to be an excellent starting tackle in the NFL. But there's a reason why I said earlier this year, and I still believe he scares the hell out of me because if you're taking him at 4, I'd really like it to be a little bit of a cleaner evaluation, and I'm not there.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I know. I look back, right? It doesn't matter. Like, there's only a handful of Joe Alts in the past decade where we all knew. And had it not been for a bunch of awesome quarterbacks and wide receivers, Joe, you could have made it. Like, we've had years where offensive tackle was the first overall pick. If that was that kind of year and there was no quarterbacks, Joe Alt's the number 1 overall pick. Okay. But for every Joe Alt, there's a Paris Johnson who got bumped up. There's in 2023. There's a Darnell Wright who got bumped up, right tackle only. There's an Ike Ekwonu who was a 6 overall pick in 2022, got bumped up.
Pretty good players, by the way.
Evan, yeah, but it's taken a minute. Not certain, not like Joe Alt coming in and playing at a Pro Bowl level. For every Joe Alt and Penei Sewell, who was the 7th overall pick, and we all knew he was going to be awesome. There's an Alex Leatherwood, who we thought late first, maybe some fringe first, second round grades, went 17 overall. Like Andrew Thomas, took a little while with the Giants, but he was a 4th overall pick. Jedrick Wills got bumped up a little bit, 10th overall pick. Mekhi Becton got bumped up, 11th overall pick. Tristan Wirfs in 2020 turned out to be the best of those. So, like, what's safe is, I think it becomes a major part of it. And you talk to people and it's like, it's meeting with like a 3-time Pro Bowler already in the NFL. His football intelligence is just through the roof. What's not safe is some of the tape, but they think it can be coached up, protected against. I don't see a dominant player. I do see a player who, against top tier pass rushers, has gotten beat, and that, like, was it the I forget.
He went against. In fairness to him, it was a murderer's row of guys.
Murderer's row.
It was weak.
There was one edge rusher that beat him to the inside and then beat him to the inside again in the game. I'm blanking.
That's a South Carolina game. That was
yes. Kyle Kennard. Thank you. So he's going to get bumped up, and we think it's going to be at 4. If it's not at 4, maybe it's at 7 to the Jets. And if it's not at 7, the absolute parachute for him is 10. To the Chicago Bears.
Patriots fans should not panic if he's there at 4. He's not. This is not. I'm not saying that this is wow. What a reach! This is terrible. I think some of my issue is the narrative that's developed around this player, and I feel like evaluators have dug in, whoever they may be, in the media, in the league, have dug in on either side of this player. There's no middle ground with him. And I think for us, we've always tried to do that. We've tried to have the honest conversation of who this player is. And it's not that he can't play tackle in the NFL. And it's not that he's the best tackle that's ever come out. It's that he's somewhere in the middle. And let's be honest about who this player is when we're evaluating him.
I think this is an important time for me to share because you're my nuts and bolts guy today, and you're gonna lead this conversation. In talking to people in the league, though, and I wanted to save this for now. I think you have to ask the question, right? Like if his tape's not that much better, and it's not that much better than Membou's, and it's not that much better than, in fact, Josh Simmons is the best athlete or the best, most talented offensive tackle in this class.
Can't wait to talk about him.
And if it's not that much better than Simmons, and it's not that much better than Conor from Oregon, why is it like, oh yeah, he goes 4. He's best tackle. I think it's important to say this, and I'm gonna lay a blanket over it, and it's Nunjo business. Whose business is it? Oh, it's Nunjo's. It's Nunjo business because it's not like there's certain details that don't need to be shared and all that. And there are varying from like, he's a little immature to like, there are some incidents, but I want, if you're going to be a part of the show and you're going to tune in, you have an expectation. I've set a bar and I promise you, I will live up to that bar as much as I can push it and without losing sources, because it's more important to keep the source than to get some stupid little bit of information. And not all of them turn out to be exactly true. So I'm not going to peddle in that stuff. But what I am going to tell you is there's a reason why some guys that aren't that much below the tape and the talent level of Campbell are going to go that much below the number 4 pick. There are varying levels, very much varying, but there are concerns, more so than I can ever remember in an offensive tackle class, Muench. There's some character stuff with these guys. It's some immaturity. It's some incidents. It's some like they're Membou, Simmons, even Conor a little bit, and Ersery. Aireontae Ersery. We'll get to him in a little bit. So I want people to understand when we're having these conversations, that's going to factor into where they're coming off the board. Take it away.
Agree. Listen, the NFL draft is one of the most competitive interviews in the world. Anytime you're offering a 22-year-old $1 million job, I mean, you're going to do your background. It sucks that it's so public. I hate that these younger kids and some of this, it's, and you're not airing them out. You're just pointing out what, you're pointing out why this is happening. But it is the reality of it. There are subtle things that can make you the 4th overall pick, or it can make you the 10th overall pick, or it can make you fall farther than that. So it's an important part of the discussion. I understand. I do like to talk about the production and the player and the upside more than that, because it's just, it's tough.
Oh, that's the baseline, and that's what the foundation of all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've handled Campbell. I will say this. There's one other thing. His stance, he bends really well, by the way. It's interesting.
He does.
He bends really well. His stance is weird or unorthodox. Maybe weird.
This is your show today, man. This is why it's your show.
He's just so upright. When you look at the offensive line, you see where his head is compared to everyone else. And if you're comfortable doing it, I don't have any problem with him lining up like that in the NFL. I don't think it's going to be an issue. It wasn't an issue in college. I don't know why it would be an issue if your stance is like that, a tackle. I do think it could be an issue when you play offensive guard. And he's a taller guy. He's not, and I know it's short arms. He's a taller guy. The idea that, and I've said this too, the idea that you can just kick him inside to guard, we get a little comfortable with that, I think, as evaluators of this guy can just go to guard. Well, no, that's not really a thing. And this guy could play center, or this guy's only played left guard. He can play right guard. That's not really a thing. And then we'll get into this with Membou right now. It's not that simple. The guys can just play the other line. They can have all the tools. Like, let's get into Missouri offense tackle Armand Membou right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a right tackle only? That's where he's played his whole career. We talked about this as an unbalanced offensive line. He'll kick over to the left. He certainly has the athletic ability to play left. I mean, this is not he doesn't move well enough to play left tackle. When you think about the traditional left tackle versus right tackle, the right tackle is more of a power, sturdier guy, whereas the left tackle is the athlete. That's not the case with Armand Membou. He moves incredibly well. We've gone over the testing numbers, so I'm not going to go over specifically what they are now, but a 330-pound man should not move like he does. It just, it's odd. It is unique. It is rare. It's awesome. It is awesome to watch.
It
I
is
would
worth
say,
mentioning he ran a 4.91 sub 5 second 40 at 332 pounds.
you
And
can't help yourself. And I get
no,
it.
this is more about the big picture. It was one of the biggest surprises to me. And a general manager pointed out to me early in my career, you would think a 10-yard split and the short shuttle for interior offensive linemen is actually a big correlation to NFL success. It's wild how strong of an indicator of success it is. The heavier you are and the lower you run your 40-yard dash. It's pretty wild. Guys who are like 315 and way more that run sub 5 second 40s. The list is pretty long of those guys going on to have really good NFL careers. Go ahead.
Makes zero sense, but it's awesome.
Right?
With Membou, I actually think he's a better run blocker than Campbell right now. I think that because of what he does, he's a zone blocker. That is his DNA. That's what he did in Missouri. That's what he's going to do in the NFL. When you watch this man steal the edge and pass off edge defenders to his offensive guard and then work
pretty
up to
wild.
linebackers, it is again. If you're an offensive line coach and you're sitting down, we're talking about pass sets today. We're throwing on Will Campbell tape, and there's almost a tear in your eye of look at this young man and how good he is at this. Look at this talent and this technique. And everyone talks about size and strength and movement and all that with offensive linemen. It is a very technical position. It is your technique. I would argue maybe other than quarterback, technique is the most technical position in all of football.
Yeah.
And when you watch him pass set, it's amazing. When you watch Armand Membou zone block, it is holy shit. Like this is incredible what he's doing. So for me, I think he's a step ahead of Campbell in that area. He's not the pass blocker yet. I think he can be. I think he's got every tool in the toolbox to be that guy, to be as good as Campbell. And I think he'll get there. The biggest question with him, we kind of hit on this in the beginning, is he a right tackle only? Is he only going to play right tackle? That's fine. He'll be a great right tackle. But if you're drafting and you've already got a right tackle, let's say New England Patriots who just signed Morgan Moses this offseason, is that now take him off the table? That's going to be a separating factor. And I think if New England hadn't signed Moses or had signed a left tackle, we might be having a different conversation about who's going for. But in terms of getting back to your tiers, I like that both of these guys are in the same tier. I think that's fair. I think they're very competitive. And that's, kind of how I would have it too. I have Membou ahead of Campbell, but they're both right there.
The 21-year-old thing is interesting when you talk to people in the league. It's absolutely an exciting thing for offensive line coaches in the future. It is absolutely from team to team, depending on where they are in their organization, what the expectations are for 2025.
Right.
How important pass protection is always important, but do we have a quarterback who's mobile that we can offset? Is he super smart with, pre-snaps and protections and all that stuff? Because I judging by the conversations, and I totally understand it, the 21 works for him for the long-term development. The 21 for I don't want to say immaturity, but some like the lack of football development and the maturity, and how can we weather the storm a little bit? Because there's probably going to be a little bit of storm in pass protection as a rookie with this guy. Just find that to be interesting. Love the fact football, wrestling, and tennis were his high school sports. I don't know why.
Can you imagine? Right? Can you imagine just trotting out in the court? You got your little white sneakers on.
Yeah, Mom, I've got I'm in the 3 seed today.
My goodness.
And my whites, like some country club boy.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate he was, but I wouldn't want to return that serve.
And Membou is 6'4" 1/4, 332 pounds is opposite you serving. I just love that. Yeah, I see all the things. I think Darnell Wright's a good NFL comp. I think maybe more mobile. More mobile.
Not as mean as Wright was. Wright was mean.
Yeah. But he's got some finishing mean to him. He
does.
But not that level. I agree.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Darnell Wright was a different level. Yeah, let me leave it at this. Interestingly enough, because on tape, I actually think Membou has more physical gifts than Campbell. I haven't talked. it's Campbell. Okay. Just the conversations I'm having. It's Campbell. And then it's Membou, Banks down the road. Isn't that interesting?
It is interesting.
It's not, because I feel like the perception has been, well, it's Campbell versus Membou. And I think coming out of the combine, we look at the traits and the 32-inch arms, 32 and 5/8 for Campbell. It's Campbell, and then it's Membou and Banks and some other guys. So
do you think the left tackle, right tackle, and the experience that Campbell has being, a day one?
I think if you're drafting in the top 10, Muench, safe is not the right word. It's known commodity, and I can't F this thing up.
Right. That's how I describe safe, but maybe I'm not using
I can't F this thing up. I need something that's a sure thing. The worst case is still a pretty good case. I think with Membou, the talent is there. Everyone recognizes it. Get out of the top 9, 10 picks. And then you start comparing to what else is left on the board. I'm going to take a risk on this. He's only 21. We can develop him. He's got tools. Maybe one day he is better than Campbell. But there could be some bumps in the road early and all that sort of stuff. I think that's I don't think I know that's the separator for several teams.
Right. All right, man. Time to talk about Texas offensive tackle Kelvin Banks, who
fascinating.
The last time we spoke, I'm looking at your tiers right now. Obviously, it didn't happen, but you were talking about maybe putting another offensive tackle ahead of him. I wanted to have the conversation of who that offensive tackle was, but before we do that,
okay,
I'm guessing the first Georgia tape is a big reason why you felt maybe not as confident in Banks. And let's just get this out of the way. Didn't play well in the game. And that was a big game. You got Jalen Walker and you got Michael Williams. That's a showcase game, man. If you want to be a guy like he was coming into the year, where Kelvin Banks was looked at as possibly on the same level as Campbell, as possibly offensive tackle one. You want to be that guy, you better show up on those nights. You better have a big night. And I will say, in his defense, Quinn Ewers, the Texas quarterback, as a former offensive lineman, I'll tell you this, he drove me nuts that night. Nuts. Stop drifting so far back. Stop moving into pressure. And you could see Banks. There's a couple times where the palms went up of, what are we doing here? Because you're not making my day any easier. It's hard enough with Jalen flying off the edge. You think I want to deal with this all night? It's a real pain in the ass. Maybe step up a little bit. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways, right? You can't say that yours has a little bit of a pocket presence issue and a little bit of got to get to your spots and move around.
I'm not saying anything, man.
I'm just saying overall, just defending my guy. You can't have that argument about Quinn Ewers and then turn around and say, and not factor that in. That said, there were reps in that game where he just flat out gets beat. I thought Michael Williams had it. That was the night that I fell in love with Michael Williams, and Jalen had a pretty good day too. Great.
It was bad. It's not as bad as the folklore has become.
No, it was not a bloodbath.
I don't like that he didn't play the second time around against Georgia. I'd be interested to see if the medical is on that.
Oh, okay. So now we're getting into the medical stuff. Okay. I'll say this about offensive linemen, right? They say this about, and maybe this isn't the best thing, so you can cut it out later if you want, but offensive linemen, it's like the FBI and terrorists, man. The terrorists don't have to be right once. That's the edge rushers. They don't have to be right once, man. They're right 2 or 3 times.
No, that's a great point.
They have had a night. If you're wrong once or twice, maybe 3 times in offensive line,
that is a great point.
You are hanging your head walking out of that locker room, man. I let my team down, especially situationally, especially if it's at certain points in the game. You want to get beat for a sack on second down in the first quarter, that's one thing. If the game's rolling along, your team's behind, you got to start throwing the ball downfield and you start getting beat then, man, it doesn't look good. So I'll say this. The edge rusher only has to be right 2 or 3 times. That offensive lineman has to be right all the time. Yep. He battled in that game. It was not a bloodbath. He did battle in that game. But again, showcase game, better show up, better have a day. And I didn't think he elevated to meet the moment. That said, we're still talking about a guy who started 42 games in college. We're talking about a guy who's got a good frame, a guy who moves well, and again was coming into the season as possibly offensive tackle 1. I'm still really high on him. I think if he's a top 15 pick, I think that's fine. So for me, I'm not ready to jump ship based on a couple of things that happened this year. I acknowledge that he's not quite as good as I thought he was coming into the year. He's still pretty damn good.
He is pretty damn good. He is pretty damn good. He can mirror. He's got strength. He's got the size you look for. His arms are a little shorter than ideal, but I don't know what he was at the pro day, 33 and a half at combine. He was probably closer to 34.
It's probably like 36 at his pro day.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the two things with him. I wrote it down over and over again in my notes: balance and placement, hand placement and balance. He leans too much into contact in pass pro. I saw he leaning too much into contact, and that caused him getting off balance. It was falling off of blocks. It was just like this balance, hand placement, leverage kind of thing with him. Can he do it? Yeah, he can. I guess here's the other part that I just like in my notes. 42 starts is a great thing. We want reps. But why at 42 starts are we still having these kind of problems with the balance and hand placement stuff? When you're coached damn well, you're playing against top tier competition. It's a big time program, So that it frustrated me.
I hear you.
Frustrated me.
I think the balance when you look at his side to side movement, his lateral agility is great. But I do see the forward lean too.
It's the contact balance almost like in the run blocking, lunging, top heavy, hand placement, balance, contact.
It doesn't show up all the time. It does show up at times. I don't think it shows up all the time. I will say when you look at that, that's why you should not be surprised when people say he might have to start at offensive guard, because I think when you put him in a tighter space, when I see that with players, that forward lean issue, and I see it with a lot of players, is to me, the first thing I want to know is arm length. I want to know, is this an arm length issue? Is he afraid he's not going to get there? And that's why he's leading with his upper body. So for me, that's the first thing I think. And maybe, I don't know what his arm length was at his pro day either. 33 and a half is fine to play tackle, but maybe that is why he starts at offensive guard until he works out some of those issues, because I don't think when you're in those close quarters, I don't think it's as big of a deal. Or it doesn't, it's still a big deal. It doesn't show up as much as what I'm saying.
I did find it interesting. I'm just trying to look this up. I did find it interesting. Outside of the quarterbacks, it feels like he's one of the top frequent flyer mile guys recently, though.
Yeah.
And again, in my conversations, it was more about Membou versus Banks and talking about the teams that need a tackle. And, the Jets, we talk about 7. Chicago's a left tackle need, not a right tackle need. And I don't know that they're going tackle there. Could be a tight end. It could be a running back. It could be, it could be an edge. But you get San Francisco sitting there at 11, right? Atlanta, interestingly enough, 45 players they interviewed at the combine, all defensive players. Offensive coaches were told to stay home from Indianapolis.
All 45 were defense?
Yes.
That's a great little nugget.
But their most recent private workout was with Kelvin Banks. And people have been speculating, well, yeah, maybe they could trade back. Maybe they think you get it late first. But talking to people in the league, I don't think he's going to wind up. I think he's going higher than people expect. I'm just talking about what the speculation was when I was reading about him on the pro days and things on the internet and social media, because that's where I got that information from initially. Talked to people over the weekend in the league, and they're having conversations about Chicago 10, San Francisco at 11, Atlanta 15 for Banks. Just wanted to share that.
Listen, you sent your 3-year tallies for us. I don't know if we have a graphic for this. Like, maybe this is a good time to get into this because this is something else that's kind of interesting to me. The offensive tackle, the 3-year tally, there it is right there, for round 1 is 5.3. Is this class that bad, man? I don't think it is. I don't think it's bad. I told you, I think there are more question marks and more, minor to decent red flags that are causing some of these guys to drop. But I think Campbell's going very high in the first. I think Membou and Banks are probably the next offensive tackles off the board, somewhere in that 10 to 20 range.
I think you're going to see Simmons and Conor could possibly get there in the first. And then you're going to see 2 guards go in the first.
Yeah,
Not definitely, but
because
we can get to them later.
If guys are talking and you're hearing people talk about Banks going late, that to me is a suggestion that maybe only 3 go. And I would be very surprised by that. I just think and I've seen a lot of mocks where it seems to be around the number. And to me, that's surprising because, and we'll get into these players, I think there are other players that I would certainly take at the end of the first round, if not earlier, to be honest with you. And again, there's other things at play, and I understand. But in terms of
I just listened to you the last several years. Like, dudes are gonna go.
Yeah,
they're gonna go. I
right.
I didn't mention, Fuaga, Mims, Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton all went in the first.
I mean, look at that second round number too. That is fascinating.
Just 1.3.
Yeah,
because
none in the last 2 years because they all go early, right?
And here, I should have mentioned this. Here's the conversation I'm having with people. I don't know where they're going to go, and all the mock drafts don't have them all going, and you get Connerly and maybe Simmons and Ersery and all that. However, I can't count on sitting there early in the second and getting guys. So I'm probably going to have to take him this time around. And these are conversations that were being had. There's a ton of defensive linemen to be had early, mid, late second round, third round, and beyond. There's a ton of running backs to be had.
Yeah, agree. It's going to be.
If I need an offensive tackle, I got to get him in round 1. So I can't mess around. And you start to do those combo picks of if I take Michael Williams, who am I getting? Let's just throw out the Bears, right? They pick at 39 again. If I want an edge and an offensive tackle, if I don't take Banks at 10 and I take Michael, then there's not a tackle. So I either got to trade away another pick to go move up to get one late in the first, or I'll go get one in the third. That's maybe a developmental guy and see what happens. But and there's only Trapillo from Boston College. By all my conversations, there's only one offensive tackle that's like, yeah, he's a second.
I like him. We can get into him maybe a minute.
But my point, if it's not him, then it's Charles Grant.
Right.
A lot of upside, develop him, but I don't know. From William and Mary. There's Anthony Belton. I just don't know. Maybe he's a guard. I don't know. So
there's a guy we'll mention really quickly because I don't know if we're going to get into him, but you had him higher than I am. I have him, but Miles Hinton from Michigan is a guy
he's just intriguing.
He's just really interesting to me when you start to dig into his tape because there's issues. There's a reason why he's not that top tier. My guy's got to start ducking his head at the top of sets. He's got to, kind of play with his head up a little bit more. But then you watch that Texas tape and you see some of those pass sets and you're thinking to yourself, what's wrong with this guy? So those are the kind of players, though, you're talking about. You're talking about guys who have flaws but have upside. If you want a guy that's going to be a starter right away, I think you got to go.
You got to secure him. You got to secure him in the first round. And yeah, maybe you catch a break and Connerly falls to you with one the first 5-6 picks of the second round, or Simmons falls because of the injury and some of the immaturity and stuff like that. Maybe, but don't bet on it, man. It's a bad bet to make.
Agree.
Go ahead. Where do you want to go next?
First interior offensive lineman. This is going to meet.
Whoa. Interior. Whoa, hold on. It's your show.
We're going tiers.
Oh, you're going. Okay, sorry.
Straight tiers.
Go ahead.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
We're going the
Yes,
first.
sir.
We'll get back to some of your guys.
All right, roll out the tiers again, Tuck. You've done a nice job on this show, by the way. I've been very impressed. You're calling graphics. You're total control at the line of scrimmage right now, Menches. But I wanted to see so tiers. We're now into, after Campbell, Membou, and Banks. We're now into the 2 interior offensive linemen. Both guys I'm getting information are very likely to go in the first. That's Zabel from North Dakota State. Excuse me, who I have an identical grade on, Tyler Booker from Alabama. I can tell you from my conversations in the league, if you're on FanDuel and you're looking to make that wager on first interior offensive lineman off the board, run and hit grab your @FD Sportsbook app right now and take Booker. I don't know what the odds are, but it's not safe money, but it's the smart play, because everyone I'm talking to in the league thinks it's going to be Booker, and he could go a little higher. I think the floor for Booker is Baltimore. We can get to all that stuff later.
What a great fit that would be. What a great fit that would be.
Yes.
I will, just for conversation's sake, we'll get into Booker in a second. Gray Zabel, North Dakota State. I hate that this is going to be the potential of me turning heel, but here we go. I hear a lot of positional versatility talk about Gray Zabel. We understand that he can't play tackle, right? And it's not just a length thing. By the way, it is a length thing. We're now talking about 32-inch at the combine, 32 and a quarter at the Senior Bowl. It is a length issue for him. Go back, and I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who are questioning what I'm saying, or I'll just say, when you watch his tape, go back and watch his tape, or when you watch his tape, there are some issues last year of him being at offensive tackle and handling speed and edge rushers. He was not as clean as I expected after a dominant Senior Bowl performance. I had some concerns after the tape. Now, the reason why you think he's going to go as high as he is that I think that he's got a chance to be a Pro Bowl guard based on his balance, the way he moves his feet. He's got some power to his game. I think when you project him, I think you're just playing out of position last year. And you start putting him in the inside, you see what happened at the Senior Bowl, where he was ultra competitive, played extremely well. I do also believe that he's got a chance to be an all-pro center. My concern with that is I'm not sure he can play center yet. I know he's done some things where he's snapped, and I know that he's open to the idea, and I know his skill set makes him an outstanding center prospect. But snapping at the Senior Bowl and at the combine and showing it for workouts is a different thing than moving to center full-time and everything that position entails. So to me, when I started seeing him at 18, I started seeing him going super earlier. I was like, wow, it feels like an overcorrection. He's better than we thought he was coming in. He's going to be a great on the interior offensive line. I don't hate late first. I think the grade's perfect. I think it was an 89 you had on him. Mm-hmm. That's a early second, late first. It's the perfect grade for him. I just think that this is a player that people saw at the Senior Bowl, and rightfully so, loved what he did there. But there are still enough things there to be concerned about. Well, that's why he might go after Booker, or that's why he might not go as early as some people thought he might go at some point.
He moves differently than all the other interior offensive linemen in this class. Now, granted, it's a tackle, it's out in space a lot, it's in that system zone. He's a zone. That's the difference too. Like, your market is limited to the scheme of the teams drafting.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
exactly.
And I think in a perfect world, Booker is in a gap heavy scheme, power, man, Zabel is a zone blocking scheme. But I want people to understand, like, when you watch his tape, it looks different than the other guys. He is light on his feet. He moves extremely well. He does have short arms. I get it. He's not a road grader. He's not going to come in. He's not going to drive guys off, but he's going to get to the point. He's good with his angles. Excellent leverage for a tall guy. Very good balance. Okay. I also want people to realize we're talking about basically a 6'6" offensive tackle that's going to kick into guard, 312 pounds, short arms, small hands. But my goodness, like, I was just so impressed with him when, like, watching him with the angles in the run game and watching how well he moved and how balanced he was at that tall frame. I saw some Cody Mock. I saw some Dominic Pooney. I think at guard, I'm with you. He's going to be a damn good guard in the league, and he may be a damn good center, but at least my fallback is he's going to be a really good starting guard for me in my zone blocking scheme, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing more. I don't need him at tackle. In a pinch, yes, he's played there, and he could probably kick outside for 10 plays or to finish out a game. But I'm not starting a game with him at left tackle or right tackle. It's going to be a guard or center. And that does provide position flexibility, because it doesn't, I mean, maybe in a certain week, I don't have to carry an offensive tackle and I can carry an extra wide receiver or return special. You know what I mean? So those things factor in, but at the end of the day, that's what he is. He's a zone blocking interior offensive lineman, and he moves differently than Booker and Jackson and all the rest of those interior guys.
And by the way, he knew it. I mean, that's why he showed up in Mobile and was like, oh, yeah, I'll play guard. I'll snap. I'm going to show.
He was voted by NFL scouts, not by teammates, not by defensive linemen, not by NFL scouts who are studying this as close as anyone studying it during the week. He was the practice player of the week at all positions, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. Okay. He did play some center, as you talked about there. I don't like all those guys that go to the Senior Bowl and dominate that level of competition have gone on to be really good NFL players, the small school guys. Teron Armstead, Ali Marpet, Cody Mock, also NDSU, patents his game after him, models it. Dylan,
does he really?
Ray
I see him as a
Dooms.
different player, but yeah, that's interesting.
No, I know, but that's who he looks up. Quinn Miners, like all those guys have gone to the Senior Bowl, dominated that week. Small school guys, drafted a little higher than we thought coming into the week, and all have gone on to have really good NFL careers. Man,
yeah, I agree. I see it happening too. I thought that 18 was a little high. I thought that people were getting a little too carried away, but late first, that makes sense to me. It does. And let's not forget, because some years are different, that Senior Bowl roster was loaded with defensive tackles. I mean, it was, I talk about a murderer's row like we talked about earlier. I mean, that was, and if people forget, I want to bring this back up. Clearly, he had a plan going there that he was going to show teams that he could play on the inside, and he executed that plan flawlessly. But he also showed that, I mean, he couldn't get enough reps. It was like he was fighting to get into one-on-ones. Just give me more reps, more reps, more reps. You need a guard? You need a center? I'm here. I mean, talk about showing your competitiveness, your willingness to get in there. Like some guys, they get a good rep and all of a sudden they're in the back trying to hide. They're getting some water, talking to the trainer. They felt like they might have tweaked something. I got my good tape for the day. This kid was all about getting better over the week, about showing what he could do. And we're talking again about these little things that separate guys. I mean, I think that puts him in a different category in some ways.
I didn't love Tyler Booker's tape as much as the consensus seems to be in the league.
I knew it.
I get it, man. He's got 34.5-inch arms, 11-inch hands, massive, long, 6'4.5", 321 pounds, ton of wars, 25 games at left guard the last 2 seasons. Like, my daughter could marry this man. He could be the leader of my corporation. I trust him implicitly. All the conversations coming out of Tuscaloosa, he's the offensive line version of Will Anderson. I've got best interview of the entire combine is one quote. One of the best interviews. Another one. One of the best interviews I've literally ever in my entire long career had was with Booker. Saban, the coaches talk about his character in the top 1% of 1% guys. He and Will Anderson, I get safest, all that stuff. Smart as a whip, consistent worker. I just didn't love his tape.
So let me ask you this, because go ahead, because this is what I'm going to get into. Go ahead.
And it's the workout stuff was actually worse than what I saw on tape.
Not good.
It really was. But his 27-inch vertical jump, 710 broad jump, 21 bench press reps were all the worst of all the offensive linemen. There were 60-something guys in the worst of all of them. And that's lower body explosiveness and upper body power. That's not even talking about the slower feet. But I get it, in a gap scheme, power straight ahead, no one's getting by this ball.
Baltimore. Yep.
Baltimore.
It screams Baltimore. The guy that doesn't fit other schemes, it's perfect for us.
And Houston.
Yeah.
Houston. We got a problem. It's an offensive guard from out. But who was it? But remember, Will Anderson. Right?
Yeah. Character guys.
And what's been all the talk all off season? I mentioned this the other day. They get anyone who was associated, it felt like, with that offensive line room for Houston. D'Amico Ryans, the character of that group. The character of that group. They got rid of everyone, including Laramie Tunsil. They wanted to bring in, and that's what I just think. And I'm trying. Houston is picking at 25. So I don't know that he's getting to 20. What's Baltimore? 28? 20. 27. Sorry, 27.
Yep.
Yeah.
So tell me this, because you dove into this a little bit about when you're evaluating players and the process of that. And I thought all of that was interesting about when you get opinions at the end and kind of how that gives you some perspective now that you have all these guys sorted and all of that. One thing you didn't mention that was really popping out in my mind, and this is a player that immediately I thought of, is how the game evolves. So the game now, the running game evolved. I think you have a higher premium for players that can move, like an Armand Membou, guys that move well and can zone block. I think that's valued more now. So if you're evaluating Tyler Booker in 2002, 2003, you might look at him and have a different opinion because of how he wins. And how he wins is power, intelligence, length, effort. That's who he is. He masks all of those weaknesses because the testing reflects what you see on tape. And I agree with you, it's a little bit worse, but it reflects what you see on tape. He doesn't have great feet. He doesn't move all that well. He's not going to fit real well in a scheme like Miami that wants to run outside zone and get their guys on the move. Just not what he does. So you also have to look at how the game has evolved. We talk about this with smaller receivers. It's now a thing that smaller receivers can come in the league and be productive. And I do think that Tyler Booker is a great example of a guy, even longer than this. I mean, if you went back 30 years, it would be even more so, who would be of a higher value prospect in that version of the NFL than he is today.
Yeah. Yeah. But now the run game's starting to come back and cover two defense.
A little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I hear you. I'm with you. I agree. I don't disagree.
All right. This is the guy. We're getting back to an offensive tackle, bouncing around. Tears, baby.
Yep.
This is the guy that I thought you had moved ahead of Kelvin Banks. Minnesota offensive tackle, Aireontae Ersery.
Yeah.
Am I right?
You're exactly right. Here's my thing on Ersery. And there's, like I said, put a blanket over all the names I mentioned. There's some stuff that you got to work through. Okay. On tape. Here's the hard part. The best two players on tape, traits wise, you could argue, I would throw Membou in there too. The best three players on tape, if I'm just doing the traits and what they can potentially be, if put in the right situation with the right coaching staff and continue to develop, I would say Membou, Ersery, and Simmons, and not necessarily in that order. Simmons is beautiful in terms of
we'll get
the way he moves and all that.
I have beef. Go ahead.
In terms of traits.
Right. Here's
the thing with Ersery, man. And sort through all the other stuff. But on tape, I'm looking at a 6'6", 331-pounder who ran a 5.01 40. And I already told you that size with that speed, what it means. I wrote down, and I believe this to be true. And I went back and did a study, and I'm not going to wear people out on it. Big guys that move like this don't fail. They're very rarely. Orlando Browns, Dan Fa'alele, even moving into guard. DeJuan Jones, piece of you-know-what coming out. All the problems and all the issues and all that, starting for Cleveland. Amarius Mims, Cincinnati. Trent Brown, 6'7", 355, seventh-round pick. Been in the league 100 years. This guy moves well, and he's a big, big dude, man. He surprised me on tape because he's quick and his knee bend. He can bend. I think he has the potential to develop into an elite pass blocker.
I do. He certainly has the potential.
Massive frame, engulfs defenders in the run game. Quick, surprisingly balanced. I'm watching all these other guys. They're on their ass. They're lunging. They're short arm. He's not the longest, but they're playing short arm. They're off balance. Ugh. There's nothing worse than watching you big oafy offensive lineman.
Here we go. Here we go.
And he's like, he's set, he's balanced, he's on the move. You know,
Listen, I've put up a lot with the. I don't need to see you pass that. That concerns me. Whatever the duck walk you're doing there. No, stop.
Yeah,
it's bad.
Right,
it's bad.
Right. This guy's a left tackle in the league, man.
I don't disagree. You starting him day one?
Vastly underrated.
You're starting him day one?
Starting him day one as much as I'm starting Connerly and his weakness and Simmons' immaturity and Banks and his lunging.
We'll get to them in a second.
Beat inside and Membou and 21.
Stick to one player.
If I got to, yeah, I can start him at guard.
Yeah.
And kick him back out to tackle.
The Michigan and Penn State teams, those games, I mean, pack a lunch if you're an offensive lineman, but I didn't love those tapes, man. I think he's not clean as a pass blocker right now. I don't know if you're New England Patriots, if you feel comfortable that this dude's going to protect Drake May's blind side day one.
I'm not saying draft him at 4, Mensch. Don't put.
I'm not saying that you draft him at early second.
I'm saying, you know what? If I'm drafting late in the first round and offensive line's a problem, I'm looking at this guy and being like, I'm comfortable with where he is and some of the decisions and some of the other stuff. I'm drafting this guy. 38 games, started 38 straight games, besides, opted out of the bowl game. A lot of guys did. Fifth fastest of the offensive lineman was significantly that 501 bigger than 3 of the other, excluding Membou. Fifth fastest, broad jump, 9.3, tied for 6th. Competed at every drill at the combine.
I love when I see that. That's
know what I mean?
No,
I don't know. I
get it. I like it too.
Flip this off, Eduardo. In 2029, when we look back, Aireontae Ersery will be one of the top 3 offensive tackles in this class and may be the best or second best offensive tackle from this group. There, I'm done with offensive lineman for the day. You can have the rest of the show.
All right. Really? Really? Put the headphones back on. You can't. Right. You don't get to tap out. I had to listen to every quarterback, every wide receiver. We're moving on. We're going to be quick with this next one, though, because I think this one's really easy.
Yeah,
Donovan Jackson.
We're like an hour and a half almost. So good.
We're an hour because we're 45 minutes because you take so long to talk about all the buzz. Anyways.
It's buzzing, baby.
Donovan Jackson. This is the easiest report, I think, ever. He's a second-round guy. I don't think he's a first-round guy. You're going to bring him into your building. He's going to start day one. He's going to start for you for about 12 years. You've taken care of your left guard position for about 12 years when you draft this guy. Maybe never goes to a Pro Bowl. Probably not an all-pro player. But he's going to be your starting guard for about 12 years. Just, you've taken care of it. You're not going to have that need again. He's just that solid. And I also think he's not a tackle like he did this year. But man, he competes his ass off when he's out there. And he, of all the guys we talk about, maybe, providing depth at tackle, he's that guy. If you get into trouble and you get an injury and you need to do what Joe Tooney did for the Chiefs, granted, it wasn't always good, but you need a guy to go out there and compete and do that, Donovan Jackson's your guy.
I think I wrote fewer words on Donovan Jackson's report than any other player in this entire draft, and I'm up to over 300.
Hell of a player. Reports. Maybe not the talent first round
Here's
guy.
what I got for you. Elite run blocker, as smart as he is physical, NFL guard starter with 4-position flex if necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he'll lunge a little bit too much in pass pro. More space he's in, less effective, but I'm grading him now. I'm watching his tape at tackle. Highly efficient, but would never say he's dominant. So while he is an elite run blocker, I'm not saying, I don't want people to get confused and think he's like plowing dudes and road grading away. He is just so efficient and smart, and his angles and his hand placement. I love this guy on tape. I recognize his upside isn't as high as a lot of other guys, but I trust him implicitly. Day one starter at guard, and let's move on.
Yeah, see you later. Not an issue for you guys. Yeah.
See
I
you
jumped
later.
ahead 2 guys because these are the guys really I think I want to end with. These are the guys that
Okay.
got me hot and bothered. Josh Simmons from Ohio State, I've said for most of the year is the best offensive tackle in the class. And the more I look at it and the more I watch him, the more I'm convinced I was right then. If the New England, clip this off, if New England were to take Josh Simmons at 4 overall, I wouldn't even blink. He's that damn good. He's that good. You
Okay,
just
tell me
talked
why.
about his tape,
Tell
man.
me why.
I love this.
Tell
I
me
love when
why.
you do this. When you talk about how he moves on tape, and he's like, "Oh, he's probably the most talented offensive tackle." I get all the off the field stuff, and I get that there's issues there. I don't know what they are specifically, so I should be clear about that.
It's not. It's just.
Remember when Laramie Tunsil had a gas mask on with a bong the night of the draft, and everyone was like, "Oh, I can't draft this guy. Oh, I can't draft him."
He just got shipped out despite all that money.
He was all pro for how many years?
Okay.
You act like because he got traded, it's the player's fault, and maybe the team didn't make a bad move. Let's be honest about it. Let's evaluate what's happening.
All right, tell me about Simmons.
He is the most gifted tackle in this class, and I don't.
This is what I wrote. This was my first line.
It's not even close.
In all caps, most talented offensive lineman in the class. ... Not close. IMO, in my opinion.
So we agree. So you're good. Send it in.
But I also wrote, like, I'd like to see him latch on in space and sustain. Oh no, I really like his ability to latch on. I'm sorry, this is the part I want to write. See, too talented to be lunging and on the ground as much as it is. Attention to detail, consistency. You can see some of the lazy reports and bad habits in his game when those moments pop up on tape.
Yeah, great. None of them are perfect. We could go through all of them and all their flaws. We just did. There's so many that we talked about. I just don't get it. He's that good. The ACL, I think, is the biggest issue here. If we were talking about him, if he had finished the season and he had a run through the playoffs where he played those teams, that they played all those great teams, he had gone against Stewart for Michigan, and he could quiet the concerns. And I think he would have. You can argue that he wouldn't have. Quiet some of the concerns that he got hurt early in the year and he didn't face all these great guys and yada, yada, yada. I think if he had faced them, he would have shown how good he is. And then if we would do that, we start having the conversation. I think the ACL, maybe not even the medical part of it, his ability to come back from it, because it's not what it used to be. And if they're comfortable with it, it's not going to be a big issue. The biggest issue is it robbed him of a chance to show what he could do against some of these elite guys. I really believe that, because I believe the player is so good that I'm willing to bet that if he had played in those games, he would have put down some great tape, that he would have showed up for the showcase games. And if he had, we're now having a very different talk about this player, because you are still concerned about him, but you're like, man, did you see him against James Pierce in the playoffs? Just locking him down? Did you see?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Gordon Bird? Did you see him from number 10 from Oregon, who's going to be a stud? You would have seen all of these things. And then you watch the way he moved, and oh no, his arms are short. Well, he goes to his pro days, his arms actually aren't short. To me, this is a guy that's slipping through the cracks for reasons I don't understand. I think when I do my final rankings, he's going to be higher than I think most people have him. And I can't unsee what I've seen.
Plant the flag. Plant the flag.
The other guy who personally, I'm a little upset that you abandoned your offensive lineman. I'm going to be honest with that. Josh Connolly Jr. was your
I haven't
darling.
abandoned.
Okay,
I haven't abandoned.
Good. You just called him.
Dude, you were telling me I want a Tucker. Go back and clip like November.
Yeah, you were on.
When I said Connerly, don't be shocked if he slips into the first round. What happened was, you want to be honest for a minute.
Always.
What happened was a bunch of other people in this industry went running with that shit. Okay?
Yep.
And now I'm seeing like top 15. Connerly's my favorite player. And we both know who these people are. Okay? And so now I've got now my name's attached to it. And I'm one of them. And then you go to the Senior Bowl and he gets plowed backwards by Mike Green on that one-on-one rep that we all watched, which was awesome and fun. But he also was playing right tackle there. And he still has to develop. What I was saying back then, and I hang on to it now, one of the smoothest moving, one of the most athletic tackles in this class, like how his hand placement's improving, like he's getting stronger, but still has to improve both of those things. Got to get a little bit more core strength. Got to continue to develop his hands. I said, I'm seeing like a second rounder here. I don't know why he's not in the conversation. Maybe he could sneak into the first. And that's exactly, we're now
I want to check the clip.
freaking 14th.
I think you were higher on him.
Okay. I may have even said at one point, because you were pissing me off. Like, you watch, Muench, he's going to go in the first round. I actually have recollection. You watch. He'll wind up in the first round when it's all said and done. But my
He
point
should be
is,
in the first round.
I don't disagree.
This is what I think. And I think the league will view it differently. And that's why I think he will go in the first round. I think so many people have seen that Mike Green rep. Do you remember Abraham Lucas when he came out of
Washington? That's for the media. That's not.
I get it, but I'm just saying this. If you're
that's not NFL teams.
I understand. That's my point when I'm saying right now. But Abraham Lucas was a 3rd-round pick out of Washington State. He was a right tackle only. I remember loving his tape, thinking he was a great player. And why was he going so late, or why were people so down on him? And he had a bad Senior Bowl. He just did. He had a bad Senior Bowl. But when you looked at his tape, it was a different story. And I'm not comparing the players. It's not a player comp, but it is a little bit of a story comp to me in that he did not have a great Senior Bowl. Watch the tape, look at the numbers, check out the upside. This is absolutely an offensive tackle that should be going in the first round.
And he probably will.
Yeah.
Because like we said before, these guys there's a reason that 6 go, 5 point whatever go in the first round, and that 1.7, 5.3 go in the first round the last 5 years, 7, 4, and 5 the last 3 years, 4, 0, 0 in the last 3 years, 1.3 average in the second round.
Yeah.
Because you're either getting one or you're not.
Right.
And last year's second rounders were Patrick Paul, who hasn't played. And Houston's hoping the Dolphins are hoping that he can step up. Blake Fisher, Texans. Rosengarten, Ravens. Kingsley, for the Chiefs, who played. Suamatia?
I think so, man. I'm the worst.
Yeah. So, yeah. And last year was a total, against the grain. It was a zag to the zig. There were 0 in 2023, 0 in 2022. So, I think Conor Lee's very likely to go in the late first. I think Simmons is likely to go in the late first, but but all of these guys outside of Banks, listen to me when I say this, because I'm only going to say it once. Outside of Campbell and Banks, all of these guys got something. So, and beyond just like the talk in NFL draft rooms is there's more stuff with these OTs this year than we can ever remember. So,
all right. I think it's time to wrap it up. I think a good way to wrap up the offensive line show is to mention that, did you see that Frank Leonard retired?
No!
Yeah.
No!
I think that's right. I hope that's right, because I just think I hope that's right. I want him to enjoy himself. But just
it's time
to refresh our viewers' memories, Frank Leonard was a guy who coached at Richmond. He was my offensive line coach at Richmond and was recently coaching at Penn State and gave us a lot of information about Tyler Warren. And I just wanted to give him a quick shout out and say, what a human being. And the reason why he's such a great human being is why he was such a great coach. And that's just that he cared about other people so much. He was new. He was new to the offensive line when he started coaching offensive line with us. And I remember that man just absolutely working his ass off to learn technique, to help us get better. It was always about the players, about getting us better. And it was not easy to play for him, man. Anyone who knows, I remember we were at a game at Rhode Island and I missed the block. My grandparents were there, and I won't repeat what Frank Leonard was screaming from the sidelines. He was losing his mind. And then right after the game, comes up to my grandmother, hugs her, tells her how much he loves me, all of that stuff. And then at the end says, but he did miss that block. In fairness to me, he did miss that block. But that's what was great about him. I hope he doesn't drive his family crazy in retirement, but I do hope he enjoys it.
Oh, he will.
One of the all-time great human beings.
January 24th. January 24th of 2024. This is last year. before last year's Senior Bowl, he wasn't headed down there. Wanted me to say hello to Theo Johnson, who's playing in the game. He's going to run a sub 4.6, Todd. He will measure at 6'6", right around 6'6", around 260. Really good ball skills, willing blocker. He's going to have a really good NFL career. Okay. That's January 2024. On the same day, we're going back and forth. I said, what are your thoughts on Tyler Warren? Because I knew obviously who wasn't in the class, but I just wanted to get ahead. He's like, he's staying, but you knew that. He's like, he will in all caps play in the NFL at high level for 10 years. Another guy will measure 6'6", 267. And he just said, smart as hell, high school quarterback, makes all the plays, can block. I imagine with training will break 4.7. Absolutely love him. Because also for your notes, Dad played safety at Richmond. I'm sure you knew that. So he started in on me, and I look at all these texts, if you can see, on his guy. And I go back pages with Frank Leonard. Pages with him in text. All the players that he's had. Honest, but wanting to make sure with every single one of them, I knew the human, the work he put in, and that's just who Frank was. And if it is the time for him to hang it up, he was at Boston College. He was with us at Richmond, Florida. I think Florida, right?
He was a scout for the Patriots at one point.
Scout for the Patriots. He's been all around the league, and he's one of my favorites. I'll never forget him coming in the back. He had that back office. He and Coach Durkin. And then later he shared it with he went on to be the head coach. Mike London.
Yeah.
Mike London, who came in off the
just
he would come McShay.
Just to give you a picture of of Frank Leonard. He may not be what you think of as an offensive line coach. He's probably 5'10" tops. And he's got his trademark was his little duck walk. I mean, he had his
glasses
kind of duck walk,
on,
thick glasses, and always just super engaged.
The energy he had. Never a bad day. He never had a bad day, and I'm sure he had plenty of them, and we just never would know it. And so, I mean, he's one of the special guys.
Yeah, all time.
We come across a lot of special people, but he's like at that top tier, man, for me. And I've always appreciated his help with this stuff, and I've appreciated him. I went to Boston College one day, Muench. I told him I was coming over to watch some tape. He set me up in a room. I sat there and just talked to him the whole time. I don't think I watched more than 10 plays. Just caught up with him. I just wanted to catch up with him. He's that kind of guy. So I appreciate you doing that. I did not know. And
good way to wrap the offensive line.
He's too humble to he would never want to make it about himself and for us to do this. So he would never text me and tell me that. But that's awesome. Great way to end it. You were nothing short of brilliant, Muench. I expected it and I got it. This is fun. I think the producers are going to be like, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe Muench hosting this thing isn't the worst idea. No, this is awesome. This is fun. We're getting close. Hey, back on Wednesday and Thursday. I don't have all the details now, but I want you to hear me if you're still watching or listening. And we appreciate you doing so. Spotify, YouTube, you can watch all the places you get podcasts. The McShay Report's coming out. We got a bunch of stuff coming out this week. A lot of this draft intel that I'm not going to get into on the show will be in there. The mock draft 4.0, the final one will come out. We'll give you all the details that you need. But later this week, we are going to do kind of a mailbag, hopefully some interactive parts, get you more information. In our next podcast, we'll preview that and we'll let you know everything you need to do. But we're going to need some questions from you. What's on your mind? What's my team drafting? Where could we go? Second round. Like, let's dig deep in. That show is all about you, like the people who have made this kind of start to take off. When we see the numbers double in the last show from anything we've ever done, like it's time to give a little back to what you guys are helping support and put into this show. And so Thursday's show is going to be all about you, the audience, and what you want to know. And we're going to be here for that. So until then, later this week, 2 more shows this week. He's Muench, my favorite offensive lineman in the world. I'm McShay. We'll talk to you soon. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.